Okay.
Councilman Alvarez.
Here.
Councilwoman Eckhart.
Here.
Councilwoman Hudak.
Here.
Councilman Lord.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. You want us to redo the pledge? Okay.
We did it.
Confirmed.
Notation of exits in the front and the rear. Any electronic device, please put it on vibrate. I make a motion to come out of the executive session. No action was taken.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, we're going to reopen the public hearing on State Line. I make a motion to reopen the public hearing and waive the reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody in the audience this evening have an interest in State Line? We covered it pretty much exclusively the last time. We kept it open. Is there any additional from anyone on this matter?
The only thing I think we should update the public on are the wetlands, because that was the only reason we kept the public hearing open.
Okay.
So if Jamie could fill us in on, not fill in the wetlands, just fill us in on the
Okay.
wetlands.
And our town consultant has some comments as well. Okay.
Good evening, Jamie LaJudas from Inside Engineering, Surveying and Landscape Architecture. Yes, Lynn, we did receive comments from Steve Coleman, the wetland inspector. To his comments, he did not have any issues with the wetland line as we have it shown. It has not changed.
Can you
and,
bring that mic down a little bit?
I'm sorry?
No, I couldn't hear it well. Go ahead.
the wetland line has not changed, and how we have it shown on the plans is sufficient in his mind.
Okay. Ashley?
So the other item that was outstanding
Identify yourself, we know who you
Oh,
are.
sorry. Ashley Lai, ACRF Town Planner. We had received, or the Planning Board had received a letter from DOT on April 20th that was requesting some additional traffic analysis on this project. We had reached out to DOT and proposed some language that could be a condition of approval. I followed up with DOT today. I spoke with the author of the letter, Greg Bentley, this afternoon, and it was his opinion that the additional traffic study should be conducted before the town board approves the project.
Approves the extension?
Well, this is a reapproval of the project.
Right.
Jimmy,
He was
you-
concerned that this would, even though we're anticipating that once a final user is picked for this site, that they would be coming back for some reapprovals.
What was the basis for, okay, so this is out of left field, because there was nothing that was said the last time we were here, so.
Yeah, I thought we had discussed a little bit of it. I had read about it.
Yeah, I had presented it briefly that DOT had requested some additional traffic analysis, and that we had followed up with them, providing them with the background information, because at the time they hadn't been able to locate the original files. So we did provide them with the previous approvals, including their previous approval, and the updated project information. The issue is that since the original approvals, DOT has changed the way that it does its analysis. They used to use HCS, they now use Synchro. There's changes in the methodology. They're concerned that the background conditions have changed. We did ask the applicant to provide updated information regarding the background traffic growth in the area, and they did provide that, and the traffic growth has not changed since the original approvals. But DOT was not comfortable with the condition of approval as being the trigger. They would like to see the updated analysis.
Was the applicant aware of this?
The applicant was aware of the calls and the emails that were sent to DOT. They also made their own calls and sent their own emails. I just made the applicant aware of the conversation I had this afternoon, because I wanted to be able to advise the board as to what the status of this issue was. And I believe they will be following up with DOT on their own.
So is this, okay, so just so that I'm clear, is this an extension? Is this a request of an extension, or are we doing a whole new approval? Is there any deadline?
This is a whole new approval. So there is no deadline. It's,
So the bottom line is, DOT wants something before, so we're doing an all-new approval of this project based on that, which, I don't know why I had extension in my brain, but I
well,
thought
they had run out of extensions. So this
Yes.
project's been around since
forever. I know.
forever, yeah. So they ran out of 2 rounds of extensions now. So this is the 3rd approval of the project that they're seeking.
Okay, So the approval that I was told there was a possibility we could be voting on it is not going to happen now because the applicant is being asked, or we're being advised that the approval would be contingent on a new traffic study.
Yes, DOT has concerns. There was extensive mitigation that was approved as part of the original project. They would like the updated traffic study to verify that the mitigation that had originally been assigned to this project is still applicable, given the changes in their network.
Okay, do we close the public hearing and wait for this approval to come through, or do we leave the public hearing open until you get that information?
I would recommend leaving the public hearing open.
Okay.
Well, let's hear from the applicant. So the bottom line is applicant, engineer, person. What does this all mean to you, so I can understand it better?
Well, this means a lot of extra time and cost to us. We'd have to go through and do an updated traffic study if we were to go that route, which we are not in any position to say we are going to do right now. We are going to call DOT and discuss this with them. We'll have our traffic consultant discuss it with them to see if there's any way of not doing it, because we've provided what we feel is sufficient information. We don't think at this time that, given that we don't have a user, we would have to come back for site plan revisions based on whatever that user would need.
So what is
So,
your
I mean-
response to that, Ashley? That sounds a little logical, that what they're gonna, so right now, what the DOT wants is, based on hypothetical users, they want a redo on a plan because they've changed their methodology. Yet, in the meantime, what's happening then is the applicant is still gonna have to come back anyway and do another traffic study. Was that posed to the highway person?
That was exactly how it was presented to DOT.
And who is the DOT? Can you identify the individual?
The person I spoke with was Gregory Bentley. He's the Regional Highway Work Permit Coordinator.
And this emanated out of what kind of a correspondence?
So when the planning board reinitiated seeker with the new project, the application was circulated back to all of the involved and interested agencies, and this letter is what came back from DOT as a result of that circulation.
When are the approvals up for? Are they currently approvals for State Line that are coming up?
I believe the permit expires this month. Their current site plan approval expires this month.
So where does that leave the project if it expires?
There would be a period of time where they would have no site plan approval.
So does that mean they have to redo everything?
No, because they're already in the process.
They're redoing everything.
They're redoing
Yeah, they
it
already
right
are
now.
redoing everything.
Okay, so essentially if an approval goes away, it's not earth-shattering.
There hasn't been any change in zoning in that area that would
Yeah.
have impacted the
Well-
previous approval, as I understand.
Well,
Yeah,
they're-
exactly. It changed, but what's proposed is still compliant.
Right, but there has been a change in that, and Jamie could confirm this, but I believe, and this is fine, but it's being advertised as possibility for car dealerships, things that,
I'm sorry, Lynn.
Car dealership.
car dealerships, which was something that was added in the comprehensive plan update.
Yes.
And may produce actually far less traffic. But the point is, since we're looking at this technically as a whole new project, even though it's the same, it seems to me that it would be worthwhile to wait and see what the DOT has to say to the applicant's pleas, or, to see, to
What time
update.
period are we talking now? Just curious.
Well, they're claiming they don't want to really do it. You're going to try to negotiate with them, like, don't do it now, do it later. Well, what if they say do it now? The applicant will have to make a decision whether to go forward or not. But then they would lose anything they had in the past, would they not?
They would what?
Well, you have authorization now until the end of the month. And if you choose not to do what the DOT says, what happens to the project? Is it dead? And you have to start from scratch at some other point in time?
They've already started from scratch, essentially.
Okay, but
Well,
if they
essentially,
don't
we'd have to go to the DOT anyway. And get a full-blown entrance plan, entrance permit. We don't want to have that fully vested yet. We have conditional approval from them. So we have to go through all of this once we go to start, before we go to construction.
So you have a conditional approval now,
Right.
which a conditional approval that is part of the new startup approval process because you're appearing before us, because you ran out of extensions, correct?
Well, the conditional approval is with the DOT.
Right.
We have full site plan approval right now until the end of this month.
At
for
the end of this month,
project.
it's gone.
At the end of this month, it's gone. So it is as if we had never had an approval. So we have to be before you now for a brand-new site plan. Essentially, it's the same as the previous proposed site plan, but essentially it's a new application, new site plan approval, new special permit approval. Everything is brand new.
But it is in a sense now, isn't it? Even though, I mean, you're not gonna go out and redo everything in June. You're
Well,
gonna
can we
hand in the
require you
same
to redo
thing.
You're
everything?
now
Can we
for
require
that.
to do everything over?
So
We did ask them when they resubmitted to provide a technical memo that identified the changes that had occurred from the original approvals to today, so that the planning board and the town board could evaluate if there were any new impacts associated with the project. That's why they had to go out and reflag the wetlands, and that's why this was circulated to DOT, and we did get some updated background information. So basically, DOT has looked at that and said that's not sufficient for their purposes. They would like to see it further updated.
Is the DOT aware that this is, is the DOT aware that there isn't anything that's happening there, or is this predicated, because it seems like you should kind of, they're gonna have to come back anyway, but that's in the nature of your negotiations, I assume.
So that was presented to the DOT, and that we fully expect this applicant, once they have a user for the property, to come back to the town board or the planning board for an amended site plan approval, depending on who that user is. And that's how that condition of approval was framed and presented to DOT. They were concerned, though, that if State Line were to come in as it is exactly today, that the mitigations that were prescribed as part of the original approvals wouldn't be sufficient or would need to be modified. And so they were concerned about if they were actually able to get a user that could go into this building as is.
But there's no building there.
No, but they're talking about if it went in now, if I got this right, if it went in now as it was approved, that there might be some traffic issues, and that's why they're asking to look again at the transportation,
Yes.
at the traffic.
Okay,
And then, once a user is identified, they'll have to redo it again. What you're saying is, the apprehension is if the user that's identified can fit into that building, they don't like what's gonna happen, but they may make them do it over again.
Yes, so
They
they
definitely
want
have
them,
to do it.
they would like them to do it again based on
A
the plans that are
hypothetical.
before you today.
Mhm.
And then if a different user comes in and they have to change the site plan, they would want to have another look at it to make
So-
sure that
So if a user comes in that fits there, they don't have to do it again.
right.
yeah.
So they're saying, well, we're gonna make you do it again even with this user, and if you identify a different user, you gotta do it again anyway. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so basically, in the end, you're gonna go to the DOT, you're gonna have a meeting with them, and you're gonna try to convince them, like, can't we leave it the way it is, and when we have a real user, whether it's the way it is now, a car dealership, whatever we want, they have to go back to them again. I think what they may be afraid of, if they approve it now, they don't believe the previous studies done are adequate, and that's why they want it, because if you sell it the way it is right this second,
Right.
it's not adequate.
Well, they're saying that they've changed their methodology.
Well-
And as a result of changing the methodology.
They wanna
that-
see.
They wanna do this. So
So-
even though they had one methodology, now they changed a different methodology.
And we always have new regulations, and they're basically asking to adhere to the new regulations.
Right.
So it's gonna be in the applicant's court to see if you can get them to change their mind, and if they don't, you're gonna have to do what they say.
essentially, those are our two options, yes.
So you're gonna come back to us at some point, we're gonna leave the public hearing open, and you're gonna get back to us, either with something from the DOT saying we're not requiring this, we'll do this, or you have to do it.
Those are our goals, yes.
That's
The-
a what,
the
I'm
board-
sorry?
Those are our goals, yes.
Well-
But the board should be aware too, as part of the DOT permit process, and to the best of my knowledge, we submitted for conditional approval from the DOT knowing we'd have to go in for a perm 30 com, they call it, for a highway work permit entrance for the commercial entrance coming into this site. So that has not been completed yet. During that process, they have their full go at telling us what other mitigations we'd have to put at at both entrances. And then we'd have to give them contractors' information, insurances, all of that background information. So that portion has not been completed yet because we don't have a contractor, we don't have a user to make sure that the entrance that we have on here is sufficient for the proposed use. For this particular use that we have shown on the plan now, the entrances are sufficient. So our concern is that if we were to go through and do a whole huge permit, the whole perm 33 com that they request, which includes this whole traffic study, we'd have to then go back to them and do a full-flown another version when we actually have a user for the site.
What do you say?
So it makes
Ashley?
sense, and we're doing double the work.
Yeah. So does that sound,
Well, that's the argument you have to make with DOT then. I
Right.
mean,
Right,
But-
and
but
that's
bottom
what
line-
I just want to make sure
But-
that
but
you all
right, no,
understand.
I get it.
so Ashley, do you agree what was just said?
I mean, I agree that there's the potential that they'll have to do the traffic study twice if
Yeah.
they'll have to do it now based on this current layout, and then they would potentially have to redo it or update it in some way based on an actual user. The language that had been proposed to DOT was that it was proposed as a condition of site plan approval and as a condition in the finding statement. And it was prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall be required to obtain a highway work permit from the NYS DOT. The applicant has demonstrated that the current traffic conditions on Route 6/202 are comparable to those analyzed at the time of the initial project approvals in 2009/2010. However, pursuant to the letter from DOT dated April 20th, 2018, the applicant shall be required to submit a to DOT an updated traffic analysis to ensure that the traffic mitigation required by the 2009 finding statement and conditionally approved by DOT in a letter dated April 22nd, 2010 remains applicable. Any significant changes to site access resulting from DOT highway work permit requirements shall require an amended site plan approval from the Town of Southeast Town Board. So
Now
that,
this, go ahead.
that was the language that was proposed to them that would have addressed this issue of, I mean, it would have required the analysis at the time that they were actually ready to build, so you would have the actual user in mind. At this time, they're not comfortable with that language. I think at this point, it's up to the applicant and the applicant's traffic engineer to try to coordinate a resolution to this issue.
So this has been sitting out there for about 5+ years, vacant, after approval? And it could be another 5+ years as well, right? Because you don't have anyone in the wings at the moment?
Right.
Okay.
Well,
You're gonna have to take your argument up with the DOT and get back to us.
Yeah, and I would like to say, I mean, if the DOT has concerns, and I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but the traffic around here in the last 2 weeks, maybe just because it's spring and all the snowbirds are back, has really been tough. So if the DOT thinks it's a good idea, then I'm apt to think it's a good idea, but good
I think
luck
that
with
the DOT
talking
is
to
simply, the DOT is simply saying we've now changed the methodology.
them. Right, right.
So whether or not that methodology is one that's going to inure to our benefit or our detriment is still to be debated. I just think that.
Well, it would be to the applicants, not to ours.
Well,
to our
our meaning,
advantage.
you're citing snowbirds coming up with traffic, so I think it's ours, ultimately, the town, and that's what this is about, I think, is the DOT is interested in doing the right thing
Right,
regardless,
right.
because they want to help the town, so
Right.
it's us.
Right.
So the bottom line, though, is, you know, what concerns me only is the fact that ultimately, you know, now we switch this methodology, that methodology, how much is it gonna cost? And whether or not, at this point in time, you know, a developer says, oh, the heck with it. And, you know, once again, I you know, as you can see, I'm not I get what Lynn's saying, and absolutely 100% correct. But, you know, why all of a sudden, you know, this.
The
and it's-
DOT did express that they would be somewhat flexible with the applicant, you know, understanding that previous work had been done on this before, but it's really up to their traffic engineer to discuss exactly how that methodology would be applied to this project. I think
Okay. I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Get back to us.
Thank you.
Okay, there's nothing on the work session this evening. The regular meeting, resolution ARB recommendation, Lower Terrace Realty. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening. Sorry to hold you up.
No, we didn't get that one. I know we did.
You're here this evening for the ARB recommendation. As you come to the mic, just identify yourself for the public, please.
Ask her for it.
I still don't understand.
I wish I had a big enough property to put that on my property.
I'm Todd Atkinson with Fulchetti and Associates, representing Lower Terrace LLC, Lower Terrace Realty LLC, located at 250 Route 22. If you know where Japor is, we're just about 400 feet south of there on the left-hand side of the road. Right now, there's an old mill area that used to be in there back in the 1920s, the 30s, that created a plateau where we intend to put this building. This building is a 1,560 square foot footprint times 2 with a garage area down below and an office space up above. We went through the ARB and we made a couple modifications to this based on their recommendations. We met with them on April 25th. One of the recommendations were to add the freeze board, which is the white board that breaks the siding up from the concrete. We added that, and they also requested that we add dividers into the windows on the garage doors to make them match the windows up above. Other things that they requested as well was to utilize a stockade fence, which is not there, but it's more than a basic type stockade fence. It's an upgraded stockade fence to block out the contractor's area that will be located on the site as well.
Where's the contractor area, in front, rear?
It's to the front on the right-hand side. We can go to another sheet.
And that fence will only block that area of it?
The whole, that's all the way around it. It will only block the contractor's area,
Okay.
correct? Yes.
This is the outdoor storage area that's proposed. This is the building. This is the parking area. This is the main driveway access coming in off of Route 22. This area will be fenced in with the fence that Todd was just referring to, and there's also landscaping in front of this whole area here as well.
And that's Paul Pelucio from Fulchetti and Associates as well. Just for
How big is the site in total?
3 acres, the entire site. The limits of disturbance on this is, 0.88, I believe?
It's a pretty steep, rocky area.
It is. Once you get away from the main plateau area that Todd had referred to, it gets fairly steep up in the back.
Okay. Town board members?
I was at the meeting, and the ARB went over things with you pretty.
Yeah, I think they were very happy with the landscaping plan we presented. They wanted to make sure we got something decent as far as the fence was concerned, and what we presented to them they were happy with. And I think, as you can say, that there was only a couple comments about the building, and the picture, that the render we have now represents their comments.
And I think you said that it was going to be fairly removed from the road. You probably wouldn't even be able to see those
Yeah,
areas.
It's 160 feet back off the road. The road curves away from the actual building location. If you take it, Paul, can you point to where the property line is?
Yeah, this is the property line running through here. So between here and this is the edge of the roadway here. This is all a wooded area in here now, and that wooded area will remain. So the distance measured from the front of the building to the actual edge of the roadway is about 150 feet. And again, there's an existing string of area in between the building and the roadway.
There's also a rise there too, up to the plateau that's there. I think it's about 12-foot to 14-foot rise. So as you're driving by at the speed limit, 55 miles an hour, you're looking at the hill and the trees, and the building will be up above that. You won't be able to see a portion of the upper part of the building when you're directly in front of the building. Obviously, when you're coming from the south heading north, as you look up the driveway, you'll be able to see a little bit more of the building, but there'll be shrubs along that landscaping there, and a fence that will also block it out.
Yeah, they were concerned that because it's in the gateway section.
Correct.
But it looks like you've incorporated everything that they suggested. So.
Well, the ARB recommended it to us.
Yes, they did.
Excuse me.
How about our landscape expert? Are you happy?
I am.
Wow, that's the first. No, it's a second, you did last one. Okay, any other comments from the board? Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for
Thank
coming
you.
this evening.
Have a great night. Thank you very much.
Okay, now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby accepts and approves the report of the Architectural Review Board dated April 26, 2018, a copy of which is annexed hereto, made part hereof in connection with the application of Lower Terrace Realty, and that such report shall be incorporated in any final site plan subsequently reviewed by the planning board. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a resolution, contents of air emissions regulations. This is basically a memorialization. I know North Salem has this on their agenda to be approved as well. It's quite lengthy. I'm not going to be reading 5 pages of single print because it'll take almost forever. We do have it posted on our website. I think it's a good thing. It's what a lot of people have been asking for, and I think both the town of North Salem and at least the town of Southeast where this is taking place is being very proactive along the way. Would you agree, Lynn?
Yes, I would.
And not, I mean, Lynn has pretty much taken the lead on this with the different municipalities.
Yes, and well, and going to all the meetings too with,
Yeah.
on the gas pipeline.
So it's not going to start, it's just a good document, and if they adhere to it, we'll be in much better shape. Any discussion?
Yeah, just describe what it is that the letter's about. It's really a resolution to,
It's asking for
Sometimes.
stricter standards on,
yeah, on the pipeline.
yes, and on, well, also it would affect the plant here, pigging stations, all sorts of, it's just asking the DEC and everybody
Right.
to raise the standards to monitor emissions.
Yeah, and North Salem's asked us to
Right.
join in with this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since we're
We're the,
have this
we're the
pipeline.
host, we're the host of the actual pipeline itself.
Right, so,
Yeah, and
Yes.
actually, it's just, the DEC apparently is, wants to revisit, much like the DOT revisits traffic methodologies, et cetera. So this is sort of a joint effort to urge the DEC to take some steps which can tighten up regulations relative to natural gas. I don't know exactly to whatever extent, you know, the gas companies can say, oh, good shot, or whatever, but certainly it shows good effort on the part of the towns to try to protect residents. And it's good reading. So hopefully they'll be listened to.
Good enough?
yeah. no,
Again, it's very lengthy, and I recommend anyone interested to go online and read it, and I think you'll be very happy with what you read. Okay,
Agreed.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is a motion to set a public hearing for the 2018 MS4 annual report, will be for May 24th, 2018 at 7 a.m. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to bring up 2 additional things this evening. One is, our courts are probably, well, definitely the busiest in Putnam County and top, probably 20 or top 30 in the state of New York. And one day a month, we have court every Tuesday and every Thursday. And one day a month, they have like a criminal court that runs quite late, till like 9 o'clock at night, and sometimes it starts at, is it 1 o'clock, Will?
Generally,
3.
it starts at 3.
3. So they could run from 3 to 6 o'clock. At any rate, don't come to the town hall that day because you can't get a parking spot. And it gets quite crowded in here. There's a security guard at the front with the, what do you call those things?
Metal detector.
detector, and one gentleman stands here. But they feel that it's getting to the point now where, people sit here for 3, 4, 5 hours and something doesn't go their way, they might get upset. And they've asked us to increase with another part-time person for approximately 4 to 5 of those hours on that one day only. And currently our contract is around $25 an hour. And I do want to compliment the Brewster Police Department, Chief Delgado, his men do an excellent job. We get nothing but rave reviews from, I know, the court people. I'm quite sure the people coming through the turnstiles aren't quite as happy with them, but they do a very, very good job. So I'm going to make a motion that will allow me to, me and the town board to increase the hours just in that one day each month.
So we have to make a motion.
I'm going to make a
accept-
motion, one, to waive the rules
Yeah.
to accept the additional.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And with that, on the motion itself, 4 to 5 hours at the normal rate, one day a month for that extra session.
And Tony, did the police ask or did the judges ask?
The
for this?
police.
I wasn't, okay.
Because they felt, the gentlemen that run the courts, the same two officers we have every time. And from time to time, they brought a person extra and we were not charged for it. But it's to the point now where they actually feel they need that person.
I think it's important for
Safety.
everyone's security and safety to, I mean, particularly if you have the officers that are here asking for the help. And Will, and you would agree that it would be a prudent,
Absolutely. There are times that this court gets very full, and it's very busy, and there's a lot of movement and moving around. And even though I think we have a very secure courtroom, having an extra court officer, I think is an appropriate expenditure of money.
and it's $25 an hour, everyone, just in case you're wondering. So that would be anywhere from $100 to $125 extra,
Per month.
per month, which is, quite frankly, well worth it. If you've ever watched those crazy scenes on Jerry Springer or whatever, God knows, we don't want that here. So at least then we'll have some control, and so I'm all for it.
Okay. Do we go through?
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And one other item. As you're aware, I sent out the lighting at Scalpino Park. Field number 1 was completed about 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow, they have to do some drilling for some rock. And so by the middle of next week, field 2 will be done. So when I went up there that evening, the first night to look at the lights, take the pictures, which I shared with the board, the lights weren't on going down the main drag. There's 18 lights that light up the park. And going down, I didn't think too much of it. I figured, the park's not quite open at this point in time. And when I spoke to Levon Bedrosian, the special district coordinator, I asked him about it, and he said, well, the lights don't work. I said, we were never notified they didn't work. We went out with the state bid. Musco, who's doing the actual work up there, put in the 2 fields, had suggested we change the lighting to LED. Now, just by changing the lighting in LED saves a substantial amount of money. The 18 fixtures would have to be fixed and replaced, and since we're already out there state bid, I'm asking this evening that you authorize an additional, I think it's $26,520 to put in the 18 fixtures. So I'm going to make a motion to waive the rules to put this on the agenda. So that's, I move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And on the item itself, discussion.
Second.
Discussion.
It was really dark when we drove in to take pictures. I think they really need to be fixed.
That's right, you drove me that night.
I did.
Thank you. I need a
did.
chauffeur.
Yeah, and so I do think it's important to have them working.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's good for the town. I think it's important for the use of that facility to be as lighted as possible, and it's a good feeling, and I know Tony reported back to us and Lynn that it was nice, the lights up there, and certainly can be enhanced, so.
Now, they will be on a timer, so they're not on all night. I don't know what time we're gonna set it for, maybe 9:30, 10, because the game could go, we're trying to get the games over before 9 o'clock, so they
Right.
interfere. And I do, when we went up there, you could not see the twilight. You could not see probably 20 feet in the air. I don't think you could see the lights. I couldn't hardly tell they were on. I don't know if you could, but you could tell
No,
there's,
they were much better than the
you could
old
see
ones.
lights on, but like when you go up to a normal stadium, I mean, the whole sky is all lit
Yeah.
up.
No, it was-
And they did a really good job, and these lights are similar, and they're turned off and on by your iPad. I couldn't do it because I have a smartphone with a dumb person using it, but the average person can do it.
And also, just
I give
so,
myself a lot of credit.
just so people know, this is coming out of recreation funds.
Yes.
So,
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, recognition of the public. Recognition of the town.
And I just want to remind everyone that there is a vote on May 15th on the Brewster School budget and for new, or for people to sit on the board. I think it's our civic duty to go to the polls to vote. I know a lot of people don't realize that the vote is not only on primaries and on election day in November, but there are other votes. There's the fire department votes, and there's the votes for the school budgets. I think it's important to exercise our duties to do that vote. I would urge everyone to participate in that vote.
Anyone else?
just happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Okay, to mothers and those in the audience and at home.
Yeah.
I have just one quick announcement. The phones at 1 Main Street have run into some very severe difficulties. We've been trying probably for the past 2 to 3 years with no real results. I finally wrote a letter to the Public Service Commission, and to their credit, within a month's time, maybe 3 weeks' time, they got back to me, and they in turn contacted Verizon, the provider, and they have been jumping like cats and dogs. Now, unfortunately, since we complained to the PSC, it's gotten really, really bad. I mean, today we had no service. A couple of days ago, we had no service. When you call, you can hardly hear another line. It's been horrible. So if you do call 1 Main Street, you can't get through, we will ask, if you can't get through to them, contact us here at 1360. Call the town clerk. She doesn't know this is happening yet. But just report to her that you're trying to get in touch with them, and we will make sure that 1 Main Street gets back in touch with you. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to close tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.